Welcome back to Equipped to Endure. I am Rusty. We're excited. We just got back from Outdoor Retailer, and one of the vendors that we talked to was Industrial Revolution. Now, this is the group that makes all those UCO stormproof matches and tinder sources. They're also the distributor for Mora knives, as well as like Esbit stoves and the Esbit fuel tabs. Now, we're kind of pumped because we are the first group that's going to be demoing the new Garberg survival version. Now, the Mora Garberg itself is not new. You've seen it around, you're familiar with it. And the only main difference that we can spot is in the sheath. So in the, well, however you want to say this, in the sheath, what they did is slid an attachment down, and it has an attached fire steel, so you don't have to make that yourself. One really cool feature about this, we'll show you a close-up or B-roll, but it has a very snug kind of indentation that keeps that thing in, so it kind of clicks in. So that's nice for retention purposes. And it does take a little bit of to pop it back in there. And then on the back side, there is a small diamond sharpening stone. So again, that's not going to put that mirror finish on there, but it will help you get a serviceable edge. And then if you keep something like a strop on you, you can take it the rest of the way. So that's a neat feature. Now this kind of slides, this is like a sheath on a sheath, but really neat. Now I haven't had a chance to really get out and put any time in with the Garberg yet. So we're going to do that. Now right off the bat, let me give you my initial impressions. So I've got bunches of Moras. You probably do too. And real quick before I forget, they actually sent us home too with the Eldris and the Spark. Now the Spark has the integrated fire steel right in the handle. It does not interfere with the normal rat tail tang for the standard Mora knife. And the Eldris is a small handheld. They almost, well, the sheath they give you is meant to be carried basically like a neck knife. So back on the Garberg. Most Mora knives is my classic number 2 that I have beat on throughout the years. Lightweight, I love this thing, really nimble little utility tool. Now the Garberg has a significantly thicker blade, and it has that full tang for the length of the knife. Now, when I held this for the first time, the Mora Garberg is robust, and it reminded me of another Swedish knife that I had, and I put this in the drawer several years ago and kind of forgot about it. But it reminds me of my Falneven F1. And it has that, I believe it's Zytel, but it's a synthetic handle wrapped around a full tang Swedish steel knife. And now I believe this was like their Air Force survival knife or something. Really like this knife. It has a full convex edge on it, has a thicker spine, but as far as weight and as far as blade length, very similar to the Mora. So the Mora obviously has the edge as far as full length, and it has that longer handle. But when you actually look at the sharpened edge and compare the sharpened edges, they're very close, within about 1/8 of an inch or so. And again, you can see the similar build, even with the tang sticking out of the butt. Now, here's what I was impressed with. These guys right now, the F1s, even though it's a phenomenal knife, I think their MSRP is around 200 bucks, but right now, I just checked last night, and I think they're running for about 125. Now this Garberg Survival, I believe, is somewhere in the $90 ballpark. And again, it's brand new, it's coming out, so we're gonna have to see what the street price settles on Amazon. But I will say that I do like the thickness and the contour of the Garberg versus the old F1. You can see that there's not a whole lot of contour on that, it's more squared off, and this fills your hand better. So I will give the edge to the Garberg. Also, I mean, you may know this about me by now, but I love Scandi edges. Typically what I'm doing with a field knife, when I'm camping, when I'm hiking, is I'm doing woodwork. And any tool with a thin enough blade, I mean, you can use that for opening your packages and cutting food and all that, but it is very hard to beat a chisel grind or a Scandi grind when you're doing anything with carving. With that said, we can put the stats up, but this blade, because of its robustness, is probably about 3 times as heavy as your standard little Mora. Now this is the HD model, which is a little bit thicker, but again, it still has that rat tang and that very lightweight handle. So these are not lightweight knives normally, and this Garberg, you definitely feel the heft when you hold it. So with all that said, let's put a little work on this and see how it does. Just quick FYI, when you are batoning, make sure that your initial cut, you're driving down on the blade from right over the top of the actual piece you're cutting. That'll drive it down and start that splitting action. Once you're down into the wood, that's where you then may move out. You gotta find a better stump. That's where you may move out further over the tip. Need a bigger beater stick here. So again, the Garberg model is not new, but the sheath that comes in this total package called the Survival Package, the sheath has the addition of the diamond sharpening plate as well as the fire steel. So let's go ahead and pop this guy out. It does what you'd expect every single other one of the 10,000 fire steel videos you've seen do. You drive off, it has a nice 90-degree spine on there. So you just drive the sparks off. So no need to go ahead and start a fire, you already know what it does, but again, the fire steel is very decent, throwing very good sparks. Let me see what we can do here. Stick it in the sheath. You got your fire steel that clicks right in. Again, you can see the little lip, that little nub helps with that retention. It kind of clicks into place, which is a really neat feature. Pop that in. There you go. Now, on the actual Mora Spark model, they've integrated that steel right into the handle. So you can go ahead and twist it out. Again, it doesn't impact the rat tail that they normally use for this model. Short little fire steel, but it does what you'd expect it to do. Throws nice sparks. You don't have to worry about a separate piece. Pops right into the handle, and it didn't sacrifice the normal durability that you would get with the Mora model. Now the Eldris, I've watched this one for years, never really picked one up myself, but now that we have one, I was curious to see what the use case is for something like this. Is this intended to be for little kids or whatnot, or just a neck knife? Now I will say, after holding it, the handle is still fairly thick. You can see, compared to next to, let's just take the Garberg for example, that it's not significantly smaller. It has the same thickness around that palm swell, which would be very big for little kids. So I think that the real intent here is to have a nice little utility knife, not a long blade, where you have some reduced weight. You can pop it into the sheath, clip it in. It's got lanyard holes on the bottom, so that then you can just hang it from your neck and have a handy little fixed blade neck knife. So with all that, hope that was fun. We like this model. I'm impressed with this Mora. I'm not used to holding a Mora with this kind of substance or weight to it. And here's what I will say. If you're interested in buying this model, it will hold up. It's got a nice, thick, high carbon stainless steel blade. It has the Scandi grind on it, full tang. I would say that if you were trying to decide whether or not to buy this, if you want this to be a tool that you could basically rely on for your life, you should have no problem with that. It has the durability. Whereas if you took something like the Mora Classic, again, if you know what you're doing and are always careful, this will have no problems for you. But you do have the rat tang, you do have the potential of breaking the handle, breaking the blade, or anything like that. So this is definitely more robust. It is strong, nice sheath with it. You can use this for years and get good heavy use with it. So I would say that's the difference there. And as far as comparing to something like the F1, if you're considering this from Ball and Even, you're looking at $125 versus $80 or $90 price point. They're both really good. You can't really go wrong with either one. If you like a Scandi edge, which I do, I would probably lean this direction. And again, both Swedish made. They're going to be good quality. Both companies have a great reputation and stand behind it. So with all that, hope that was useful. Until next time, in OMNIA PARATUS.